All right, good evening. Welcome to the September 8th, 2025 Policy and Government Relations Committee meeting of the School District of Waukesha Board of Education. I call the meeting to order. We'll start in general business, verification of meeting posting. Julie, can you please verify that the meeting has been properly posted?
Yes, it has.
All right, thank you. All right, next is our opportunity for citizens to speak. Tonight we have one speaker. Because there are less than 6 speakers, our speaker will be notified at 3 minutes, but allowed up to 5 minutes to complete their comments. We expect our speaker to honor our time limit, refrain from using any inappropriate language, and be respectful in their comments. Speakers who do not meet these expectations may be prohibited from speaking at future board committee meetings. Speakers are here to address the board, not the audience. The school board and this board committee does not endorse any comments made by any members of the community here tonight. We would like to remind our community members of the impact of their words on others and that our children are watching. We commit to communicating with you in respectful and productive ways and ask that you do the same. We also expect that the audience will be respectful of the speaker and of the board and refrain from responding with verbal comments, cheering, applause, or other behavior that will detract from the meeting. Please note that no obstructions can be created between the board and the audience. Visual aids cannot be used, and the area behind the speaker and podium will be clear during public comment. Also, in order to respect our speakers and meeting participants, please silence your cell phones. Our speaker tonight is Paul Reese. Welcome, Paul.
Good evening. When I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of a child behind me. 1 Corinthians 13:11. So last month, you guys brought up the policies on campaigning. It was like campaigning while on school property and using logos and mascots were all discussed here. And it got way too long to listen to. It really got off track. It comes down to just really 2 classifications, right? Either you're acting in official capacity or on behalf of. So either I'm doing something officially, signing papers, or handing out literature. Those are the 2 classifications we're trying to bite here. Now, Diane brought up Samuel, when he ran last year, as a student. Like there's some kind of loophole here. Like he had the right to do both things. Well, again, you're going to put on your big boy pants and run for school board position, or you're going to be a child. Your choice. It's really not that difficult. Either you're going to do this and it has requirements, and you're going to act like a candidate, or be a child. I don't care. This is a privilege. It isn't a right. This is a privilege to do this and to serve in this position. You don't get to do childish things and think that you're going to run for school board. I mean, the really pertinent thing would have been to make sure that the kid was going to graduate on time. That would have been the ideal situation where other candidates and people behind him would have made sure the kid would have got his life on track. That would have been ideal. But it wasn't. So there was another thing about mascots. And when Diane ran, she took a picture with her daughter in North's mascot. Now, it's not that it's what do you do about it? It's not that it was done, it's what do you do about it? What can be done about it? Really, there's not much here. She brought up, what can you do about this stuff? Here's what happened if you confronted Greta about it. What would I say? I took a picture with someone. I didn't know how they were going to use it. What would anyone say to that? I didn't know how they were. So you can't go after the person who did this, who in that case with the mascot, or if you lose logos. But what you can do, and what the administration can do, is contact any candidate who uses a logo or a mascot in their campaign literature and ask them to take it down. This isn't much that can be done here, but at least that's something. If we can go to them and say, can you take this down? And if they refuse to take it down, then issue a press release that we've contacted the candidate
2 minutes.
and asked them to take it down, and they've refused to take this down, if we deem it inappropriate. I mean, there's so much that can be done here. right? We can ask, and when people are campaigning on school property, the other thing that can be done is if they can be requested to stop, and then you can be trespassed if you refuse to. Those are the things that can be done. You know, it's not this big hullabaloo, you're not gonna go to court and do something, but these are the simple things that can be done. You know, you can make requests of people to do things, and you can issue a news, issue a news report, and you can, and trespass people who don't do it. And if it's a student who does this, you can in-school suspend them. If they're doing it and they're a candidate, then you in-school suspend them until they decide to stop with this behavior. Again, if you don't want to do this, don't run for the position. It's really simple. If you're a student and you want to be like a student, don't run for the position. And I was really disappointed in that discussion that way, that wasn't made plain, because it is a plain thing. So, thanks. Oh, tonight's Jerry's birthday, so I'm gonna take off again. Thanks.
All right, moving on with our agenda. We have an action item of approval of minutes, which have been included for you. Any discussion? Care to move the approval of the minutes? Mrs. White?
We approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Mrs. Voigt, seconded by Mr. Brooks. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, minutes are approved on a vote of 5-0. All right, now into policy discussion or information. Our first and second items are both technical corrections. So if it's all right with you, Dr. Siebert, I'll let you tackle both of those.
It'd be my pleasure, Mr. Watt.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So as Mr. Watt said, we do have two technical corrections. The first is with policy 5500, Student Code of Classroom Conduct. It is eliminating, first and foremost, it's changing the names of policies. So there was a policy that used to be called mandatory reporting of threats of violence. It's now simply called threats of violence, so it's just updating that reference. So that's an easy one. And then it's removing two incorrect legal citations. One is Wisconsin Admin Code PI 41, which relates to the accommodation of religious beliefs. So that doesn't need to be in there. And then this long one, Vocational Education Program Guidelines for Eliminating Discrimination and Denial of Services, Department of Education, Office of Civil Rights, 1979. That one also, based on the Neola legal counsel, is being asked to be removed or recommended to be removed because they said it doesn't apply to this particular policy. And then the second one is policy 9150, school visitors. That is a technical correction as well. So again, in the second paragraph, noting the name of the policy, which is animals on district property. And then in the, what appears to be the sixth paragraph, changing it to say concerns about any aspect of a child's education program should be presented through the procedure set forth in Board Policy 9130, public requests, suggestions, or complaints, a copy of which is available online via Board Docs, as well as at the district office and at each school. So just a couple simple little updates there that make for some clarity and seem to be straightforward.
All right, thank you, Dr. Siebert.
You bet.
Anyone have any questions or concerns about the technical corrections presented? All right, seeing none, we can move on in the agenda. We are on to policy discussion and possible action. So we have back this month a policy that we discussed last month, 9150.02, its new policy on campaigning and political activity. Dr. Siebert.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Wad. I think I'll just begin by saying I tried to reflect on our August discussion, which was a robust one and a good one. But even after that reflection, I was a little unclear in terms of what I might be able to do to modify the policy, just based on how the conversation started and then ended. And we were talking about maybe separating by students, by staff, by candidates, and then I think by the end of the conversation, we you shifted to kind of thinking maybe that wasn't the way you wanted to move. So we didn't do anything with the policy other than what we thought might be helpful is to cross-reference, as we did with the highlighted version. We can thank Julie for that, how the policy really pulls from the existing policies that are referenced at the end of the policy in order to ultimately put it in one place and have a one-stop shop for all of that information. So we thought hopefully that might be helpful to you to see that how Julie color-coded it. Most of the language in the policy already exists in the other policies. And we thought that the policy broken down into prohibited activities, permissible activities, and what the policy is not intended to restrict. In talking to Mr. Wad, we believe that would be adequate, and we also believe that it would be a good addition to our array of policies to create, as I said earlier, that one-stop shop for candidates or students or staff members to go to, and it would be helpful to us administratively to have one policy that we could reference in the employee handbook, reference in back-to-school activities, and reference as we approach election seasons, what our expectations and guidelines around these topics are. So with that being said, I think I can just stop there, and then Mr. Watt, if there's anything you wanted to fill in before the discussion, please.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Siebert. So, and I had conveyed these sentiments at the board meeting in August as well, that I was struggling to understand what direction to provide Dr. Siebert in terms of revisions. And when he and I met, we thought it best just to try to reinforce the idea that this policy is designed to pull together in one place various policies that exist either in other policies that address these issues, usually as like one or two line items of a larger policy or administrative guidelines, so that all of the committee members could see that this was not designed to really create anything new other than a spot in our policy where a candidate, a staff member, a community member could go to see what are the governing policies for campaign activity on campus. So with that, I guess the guidance I'd like to provide to this committee is, we had a pretty thorough discussion on this. It went back to Dr. Siebert. He and I both struggled to figure out how to revise it. There didn't seem to be any clear consensus on what needed to change. And so what I would suggest is that this policy be moved to be adopted. And if people have specific changes they want to make to the policy as presented, they offer amendments that the committee can vote on. And then we can make a final vote on an amended version, should any amendments pass, as opposed to trying to figure out a way to send it back to Dr. Siebert again. I think at this point, that would be counterproductive. So with that, I'll open up the discussion. Mrs. Voigt.
May I ask what the coding references, the yellow coding, is it like to certain policies that it came from? I wasn't understanding the meaning of yellow versus green versus pink versus blue versus.
It should be following that. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a sheet that follows, Ms. White, called School District of Waukesha Policy Administrative Guideline Employee Handbooks. So the policy number is highlighted in the color that matches what's in the policy that we're considering. Does that make sense? So do you have these sheets?
I do.
Okay, so that first one, policies 3216, 4216, staff dress and appearance. You'll notice in the policy itself, there is a section that's highlighted in the same color. So under prohibited activities, 1, campaigning by staff, shirts, pins, buttons are prohibited in accordance with those policies. So that's where the colors match up. That's right, Julie. Did I convey that correctly? Yes, okay.
So for clarification then, we're only looking at the 2 pages that is campaigning and political activity draft. And this is already what's in,
That's
yeah,
correct.
so this is already there, this is the summary of.
Correct.
Gotcha,
Yes.
gotcha. Because there was a couple questions I had in those policies, but that's not really pertinent to our discussion tonight.
Right, so if there is existing policy that you don't like, we wouldn't address it in this policy. We either adopt the policy and then come back and change it later. We don't adopt the policy, this new policy at all.
Right.
But we would have to review the other policies as a separate matter.
Just as an example, my question that I had is in the yellow administrative guidelines 3231A, participation in political activities. It talks about all board-owned property, and I don't feel like the board owns any property. The school district of Waukesha property, right? You see the reference to it towards the end of the first paragraph under the yellow highlight on page 3.
So, Dr. Siebert, are you able to address, first of all, I guess I'm wondering, is that germane to this
It's not,
discussion?
I'm saying that's not something we're talking about tonight, we're only talking about this.
Yeah, perhaps just forward that on as a question to Dr.
Sure.
Siebert. And
Happy to
and
take that, Mrs. White.
If it requires some sort of change in language, we can always bring the policy back if that is not accurate or appropriate. Does that make sense to everyone? All right. So, any other comments, questions about the policy? Yes, Mr. Zenobia.
Thank you, Mr. White. So, wasn't able to participate last month in this discussion. Did get to watch it, though, and there was a lot to digest. Really, my question here, just to clarify, maybe to Mrs. Voigt's point, everything that's highlighted refers to another policy or the guideline. So am I to assume then everything that's not highlighted is just additional language? Okay,
Correct.
so, all right. So if this is pulling together all of these policies, I guess I certainly see a value in that. I guess then the question is, the additional information that's there doesn't conflict in any way with what we already have. So I think to some of the discussion as to why this was being reviewed in the first place, to make the public aware of how campaigning should be done, and that we have guidelines and policies to direct that, is all valid. I just am trying to understand from that perspective, what are we really trying to accomplish with this policy, other than bringing everything together?
Yeah.
Anything, or?
So, I mean, we want to bring everything together, and the purpose that serves is to help all interested parties in our campaigns to know how school resources can or cannot be utilized, whether it's staff, buildings, events, facilities, right? And there is one area in here, which would be item 3, which would be new policy, right? There isn't an existing policy around use of district property. That's correct, isn't it, Dr. Siebert?
That is correct.
Where we spell out specifically that district facilities, equipment, and we give some examples, which I don't think is designed to be, all-inclusive, but examples. Official logos, mascots, trademarks, or communication channels may not be used for campaigning and political activity. That is new. There is no policy that provides that. There was concerns around so there were concerns that a policy like this may infer certain restrictions that were not intended, so we included the section on this policy is not intended to restrict. So that language doesn't exist anywhere else that I'm aware of in policy or administrative guidelines. I believe that the opening paragraph under prohibited activities is provided in order for the board, if it adopts this, to basically convey its philosophy on why these activities are prohibited, which I don't think that exists in any one place in any policy. Does that help?
Yeah, no, that does.
Any other? Yes, Mrs. White.
One of the suggestions that I think had come up was, is there any Neola guidance on this topic? You know, you had a chance to do some research and see if, this is all School District of Waukesha language, obviously, with the, the copyright notation there, but is there any Neola language on guidance for campaigning?
We checked, and Neola does not have a campaign guidance policy.
Okay, thank you for checking.
You bet.
Any other questions, discussion items, concerns? Right, if not, I would be open to entertaining a motion for adoption.
Move to approve policy 9150.02, campaigning and political activity as presented.
Second.
All right, moved by Mr. Brooks, seconded by Ms. Grenn. Would open the floor for debate. Mrs. White.
I have some concerns about the way it's written, that it almost precludes the idea of distribution of materials, like an invitation to a candidate forum would fit in that category, and I don't think that there'd be anything wrong with an invitation to a candidate forum where everybody that's running has a chance to be able to present, their perspectives.
An invitation issued by who?
Whatever the group would be that's holding a forum, per se, would say, we're inviting all the candidates to meet together and discuss
Why
at the
would that-
library or whatever.
Why are you concerned about that being distributed or not on school property or at school events?
You don't think that they could invite all, members of the school community to an event like that to determine who the school board member representatives will be elected to be?
I think I said this last month, I'll reiterate it. I don't see any reason for the school district to be involved in any way, shape, or form in promoting its elections, promoting campaign activities such as forums or anything else. To me, that falls within the purview of the candidates and the interested parties that may be supporting or opposing those candidates. The school district, in my opinion, should stay out of it. But if there's an amendment there, we certainly could bring it forward.
I firmly believe that it'd be appropriate, and I've been saying this for, since I was on the board the first time around, an appropriate kind of channel to have candidate question and answer sessions that could be open to the public. And I'm thinking that, we don't want to build into our policy the fact that we're not going to allow that by our policies, per se. That you may disagree that that's an appropriate thing to have, but how are the citizens supposed to realize who the candidates are, what they stand for, without having to go through the, extensive election process, campaigning, per se, even in a situation when there's only three
So
candidates for
Ms.
two
Voigt,
positions.
there is not a motion before the floor except the adoption of the policy, so.
You were asking for discussion.
I would say, yes, so this is now a discussion of a motion, so I don't know that discussing something that isn't currently on the floor for debate, which is changing that language or adding language that addresses political forums, is germane. Dr. Siebert, do you serve as official parliamentarian?
I can do my best.
Okay. It seems to me that discussion would have been appropriate prior to the policy being moved for adoption.
Yes, and if Mrs. Voigt wanted from my perspective, if she wanted to make an amendment, right, and she was
Correct.
describing the portion she wanted to address and then wanted to offer an amendment, I think that would be
Okay.
okay.
Should the amendment come first and then the debate, though? I mean, we're debating an amendment that isn't on the floor for consideration.
That's a good point. Yes, that's fair.
I have a question,
Yes.
to clarify. So if someone, and this is, I guess, hypothetical, I was just trying to understand what Mrs. White was alluding to, and I know an amendment hasn't been made. I was just trying to clarify if a potential amendment meant distributing materials on school property or having a question and answer forum on school property, because from my understanding, that would be that would be what we're discussing, because anything else is not in the purview of the district. So,
Well, so maybe I need a
if I'm not
clarification.
understanding.
Yeah, so maybe I need a clarification. Are you arguing against adoption of the policy because that paragraph is included?
Yes.
Okay, okay, so and so you don't want to offer an amendment to remove it so that we can consider the rest of it, or?
My concern is it's in the yellow highlighted, and it wouldn't be a matter of changing this. It'd be a matter of changing the original document that that yellow highlighted came from. You know, like, there are some things that are our straight text we could modify, but anything that's in a highlighted is already a policy per se. So, you know, correct? Just like the idea of the board-owned things that were on the other policy sheet, like, we're changing a different policy, but not the one in front of us.
Well, Ms. Foy, what's the language that you're
Yeah, I'm
referring to
curious about
specifically,
that
just
as
for
well.
clarification?
The distribution of materials, where it says campaign flyers, brochures, signs, banners, et cetera, you know, kind of idea, and other promotional items may not be posted or distributed. My question was, would under the category of other promotional items be an invitation to a candidate forum? Inviting to someone to come and hear all, you know, 4 candidates, 6 candidates, whoever are running, would that be considered to be against this? I was just asking if that would fit in that category.
So I guess the question I would ask is, would you consider a forum to be a political activity?
Informational activity,
But is it a political activity?
part of the process of determining which candidates are, you know, worth voting for.
Yeah.
So you're saying it would not be allowed?
That's my interpretation of it. I would consider a forum designed to influence people's decisions about who they do or do not vote for to be a political activity, regardless of who's hosting it and what their intention is in terms of its audience or, you know, claims of being nonpartisan or fair, whatever term you want to use, it's still a political activity in my estimation. So at this point, we have a motion on the floor for adoption of the policy. We've had some discussion around a potential amendment, but I haven't heard one yet. Mrs. White,
I move that we strike the other promotional items from that list. So it could be campaign flyers, brochures, signs, banners may not be posted and distributed, and just remove that particular phrase that could be misinterpreted to say that, you know, something that's offering information to put, you know, to the voters would be unacceptable.
okay, we have a motion on the floor.
It needs a second.
Looking for a second.
Just to clarify, are you striking what's after the yellow highlight, or are
No,
you
just
striking the
the 3
highlight?
words, other promotional items.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to rule the motion fails for lack of a second. Back to consideration of the full policy. All right, hearing no discussion, I will.
Roll call.
All right. Julia, a roll call has been requested. Could you please take the roll?
David Wyatt,
Aye.
Eric Brooks,
Aye.
Natalie Grant,
Aye.
Diane Hoyt,
No,
Anthony Zenobi.
Aye.
All right, measure passes 4-1. All right, thank you, everyone, for the discussion. All right, we have no agendized items for government relations discussion, and I think that's just because there's been a lack of activity in the Capitol here for the last month since we last met. So we'll move on to other business. First would be recommendation for future meetings. All right, seeing none, any other things that we need to cover? If not, the next Policy and Government Relations Committee meeting is Monday, October 13th, 2025, here in the boardroom at the Blair Administration Building. And with that, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.